Hi everyone, my name is Gabriel and we're about to practice a very minimal yin practice. Just these three postures is going to change your hips, they're going to change your low back, they're going to pull energy in your body, they're going to help you to sleep better. You can do them watching TV, you can do them with a newspaper on the ground. So really you can do them in any time at the end of your day. So those of us who are ready to start, notice I'm on my knees, I'm going to move forward, come into all fours. We're going to bring the right knee towards the right hand. I'm going to slide the right ankle over in line with the left leg, and I'm going to let the left leg go back. Some of you got into the pose. Notice I have a timer. It is very important that when you practice a yin, use a timer. I'm going to start the timer. We're going to hold postures 3 minutes. This pose, we call it swan pose. And if you don't want to be upright like I am right now so I can talk to the camera, you can do sleeping swan, and you're going to walk your hands forward and bring your head down. Maybe put your head on a fist or on your hands. So I'm going to stay in swan proper, which gives me a back bend, and that really helps. So the pose is designed for the hips. Those of you who have a flexibility in the hip, you might pull your right foot forward a little bit, but please be very careful. If there's any tension in your knee, keep your foot in. You want to feel the pose on the outside area of your sitting bone, down towards the outside of the knee, in the area known as the IT band. You might not be on the ground all the way like I am. You might be a little bit high, and that's okay. If you fall to the right side a little bit, but you feel it over here, then that's fine. You don't have to keep your hips squared. You're not activating the back leg. One of the big aspects of a yin yoga practice, and the reason we name yin poses differently, is that yin is done with a different attitude. Where active postures like pigeon are done with the muscles and we're pressing the back leg down, we're activating the pelvis bone to reach towards the ground. Yin is a quiet practice where we hold poses with as little muscle interaction as possible, and that non-muscular effort allows the pose to address the bones and the deep connective tissues inside the bones, primarily the ligaments. And that's what separates a yin yoga practice than an active yang practice. We have about a minute in the pose, so just staying in the pose is challenging. And listening to my sound of my voice helps the time go by faster. However, when you want to do it by your own, you can always use your breath, whether you breathe inhale through the nose and exhale through the nose. You can use your breath as a form of keeping your mind centered, or just doing your best mentally to avoid activating the muscles, maintaining calmness in your frame, both in your mind, in your heart, and in the body. And then the breath will just do what it does. You don't necessarily have to manipulate the breath in the yin style of yoga practice. So just enjoy the pose. Feel where you are, and just trust that your body will open. And there's the sound of the bell. So it's easy to roll to the bent knee side. I'm going to stop the bell. And then maybe lay on your side, pulling the back knee in, and you like a rock or a seed. Maybe you want to roll onto your back and rest for a moment. Maybe you like rolling onto your stomach. Do whatever you need between the poses, and I'll give you time. So we start in all fours. I'm going to bring the left knee to my left hand, slide the other leg back. I'm going to pay attention to my hips, so my pants are a little tight, but now they're comfortable. I'm going to feel it. Do I feel it in my area? Maybe I got to roll a little bit to the side. Notice if you roll too far forward, then that completely takes away any effort in that bent knee hip. So try to pull it backwards a little bit more. That should have given everyone a chance to be in the posture. And so I'm going to start the clock. And again, if you don't want to be in swan proper, that activates your lower back, then you're going to come to sleeping swan, bringing the head towards the floor. The lower back is one of the most tense and restricted area, and one of the most talked about areas for back pain in the West. And one of the main reasons is that we lose the curve in the low back. It's very important to open the hips first. So here's a good sequencing principle for any type of a yoga activity. Open your hips first and then manipulate the spine, because when the hips are open, there's more freedom for the back. So our intention with Swan is to open the hips, and that's really what's more important. So if you have to bring your head down in a sleeping swan, that's perfectly okay. And then we'll address the low back in the next pose. And notice, because in the West, due to the chair, due to the car, due to the way we use the restroom, people in Asia, they squat to use the restroom, they squat to chop vegetables on the floor, they sit on the floor. There's very little sitting in chairs in India and in Asia. So they have a different tension in their body, and they have a freedom in the low back that we in the West do not enjoy. They have a lot less complication as they age with their body. And one of the biggest reasons is, like I mentioned a moment ago, is the loss of the lumbar curve, the curve of the low back. So while in Swan proper, as I am right now, I actually get my low back and my hip at the same time. Those of you who want to wait for the low back will wait. And the reason I said in the very beginning that if you just know these poses, Swan, and the next pose, I'll even give you the name of it, it's called Seal. If you do Swan and Seal on a regular level every day or every other day, and notice it's very simple, and you can read a book and you can watch TV if that's what you're enjoying at night, it will really help you to feel different the next day. Over time, you will discover that you have less fatigue in your body. Not only that, if you have regular physical activities, maybe you love biking, maybe you love running, maybe you're a basketball player or a football player. All of the other fitness activities that we do tend to restrict the range of motion in the hips and the low back. So by creating space and helping the connective tissue have more freedom, you will be surprised how that freedom translates to more action on the ground when you're playing, when you're running, when you're biking. And I will let you discover that because you practice. Now we had the sound of the bell. Notice I'm going to roll to my bent knee side. Maybe I pull my leg in and I rest for a moment. Maybe I want to stretch out my legs and lay on my stomach, maybe on the back. You'll decide. If you haven't made it on your stomach, we're going to make our way on our bellies. If you're ever in Southern California, come check us out over at the Glow Hot Yoga Studio. We're right on the harbor. We take out stand-up paddleboard training, yin training, and also hot flow and regular flow style yoga training. With that said, let's move into our next pose. It's called Seal, and we'll start with the easier fashion. So this is called the Sphinx, actually. And your elbow is right under the shoulder. Your hands are shoulder level apart. And maybe this is enough for your lower back. And then you're just going to be here on your elbows. Otherwise, you can open your hands at a 45-degree angle and then make the arm straight. That's going to accentuate the curve in the low back. And if that's too much, you're going to go back down to Sphinx. But maybe it's not enough. Maybe this is even easier still. And then you can begin to draw your hands closer towards the body. I'm going to start the clock now. This is not a cobra or an up dog. This is called Seal. And you're trying to relax through your stomach. If you need to squeeze your sitting bones or squeeze your muscles of the back, in this particular posture with back bends, then it doesn't take away from the pose itself. Some people wonder what to do with the shoulders. So if you like to depress the shoulders in sync, well, that's okay. If you like to take your shoulders downward and away from your ears, that's fine also. You decide. Maybe you like to drop your chin to your chest. Maybe you enjoy keeping your chin normal and neutral. Maybe you like to take your head backwards and enjoy that space. So whatever you do with your arms, whether you're on Sphinx, whatever you do with your shoulders, whether they're up or down, whatever you do with your head, is really your call. Your feet can be apart, your feet can be close together. The thing is that your back is in a back bending format, accentuating the curve. And according to the founder of Yin Yoga, a man named Paul Grilly, this is one of the best postures to help maintain the curve of your low back, the lumbar curve. While we do not know why we lose the curve in the West, We can make presumptions based on information that we have today, that sitting in a chair for many hours a day has taken its toll on our spine and reduces the arch, the curve, the lumbar curve that we worked so hard to create when we were babies and into walking. So this will really help all other fraction of your day. If you're limited in time and all you can do is one pose, I really recommend you do this one. You can do this pose without any other postures. At the end of it, you might lie on your stomach for a moment, but 3, 5, 10 or more minutes a day can really make an impact over the course of time on your spine alignment, on your sitting capacities, and as I mentioned already, if you're active in any other sports, this will really make a difference. And it's like eating an apple. I can sit here and suggest to you that an apple a day might keep the doctor away, but it's only after you actually eat an apple a day and over a course of a year or 2 years of less problems in my body, then you see the benefits of eating an apple a day regularly. Now, I'm not sure about the apple a day idea, but I have been doing Yin Yoga for almost 15 years. I've watched students practice this regularly and I've seen a transformation in as little as 30 days of regular practice. And regular practice is doing it every other day at best, at least 3 to 4 times a week. The bell has rang, so notice I can come down on my stomach and rest. If you like pushing yourself back into a child's pose, you can do that. If you like rolling onto your back, you can do that as well. I'm going to stop the clock, and I'm going to turn myself around. I'm going to lie on my back. So this is a complete class between the postures that we're doing, even though it's very short, and we're going to complete the class by doing a spinal twist on the back. So notice I'm going to lay on my back. I'm going to bend my knees. If you want to keep your knees together and drop them to the left, then do that. Open your arms like a T. You can always take your right leg over the left leg and drop the legs to the left. Some of you might be able to wrap the toes behind the calf muscle. Don't worry if you can't. We're only going to hold this one for 1 minute, so I'll adjust my timer. Let you get into the pose. And again, you can open your arms like a T. If your knee doesn't get to the floor, don't worry about it. If you want to look to the right, if you want to keep the left hand on the knee or your heart, or open it out and look to the left, or keep your head in neutral, all that matters right now is that we get a twist that reorganizes the organs in our belly, helps to take away the 2 postures that we just created, and also provides a spine twist that helps to move the spine side to side. At this point, you might even close your eyes and surrender to the calmness that the pose is allowing you to have. Yin practice draws the philosophy from Chinese medicine, and in our trainings we go into more depth into the history, the philosophy, and the people who created the practice. Notice the bell rang. I'm coming out of the pose. Maybe you shake your legs a little bit. Maybe you keep your knees together and they go to the right. Maybe you cross the left leg and you go to the right. Some of you might be able to sneak the toes behind the calf muscle. Not sure if that will happen for me today. Oh, I got it. And then we'll drop to the right. Start the timer. And just enjoy. And while you might be in a yoga studio, but notice how your heart begins to open. It is known as a quiet practice. Technically, the practice began as a form to help Paul Grilly learn how to sit in meditation with more comfort and ease. All yoga poses, whether they're active, yang, or yin, ideally help the body to sit more comfortably in meditation. Most of us today only practice a very strong, movement-based style of yoga. And when we have to sit for long periods, we discover it's very challenging on the knees, the hips, and the low back. And really in Yin, most of the poses are just for the knees, the hips, and the low back. The bell rang, we'll get ourselves out of the pose, and then we'll just relax in a star pose. Star, your legs open wide, your arms go over the head because you are a star. This is how we can relax in Yin on our back. You can also sit in meditation. You can also take regular Shavasana with the arms by the legs. So choose the variation that works for you, whether you're lying down, whether you're sitting. I'm going to bring myself to a sitting position now. But you're going to calmly close your eyes to do as little movement as possible. I'm going to give you a chance to stay in this pose as long as you like. Namaste.